Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Sabansu, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty serious show, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're not following the Dreamers Pro podcast, we have that pinned in the comments if you want all of our shows before they come out on YouTube. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So, Stephen A. Smith is making headlines. All right, he's making headlines once again for something that he said on NBA on ESPN about 2 days ago. As you guys know, the Clippers had a very contentious Game 3 versus the Dallas Mavericks. Tempers were flaring. Players were getting upset, especially players on the Clippers side. And the player that got into the most drama on the court was Russell Westbrook. Right, Russell Westbrook is coming off the bench. You know him; he's a fiery personality, very competitive. And there were various moments in the game when he got into it with players like PJ Washington, and then he got into it with Luka Doncic. They got into a bit of a shoving match, and they were going back and forth, and they were issued double technicals. The game really got out of hand, and you got Terrence Mann. But this is nothing new, really. Right, this is nothing new. This is something that you've seen before in playoff basketball. I remember when Russell Westbrook was playing with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And, you know, that's when Paul George was his teammate, Carmelo Anthony was his team, and he was getting into it with the Utah Jazz, with Donovan Mitchell and all of those guys, right? So this isn't the first time that something like this has occurred. You're going to have skirmishes in the NBA playoffs. It's very competitive. Players get angry. This happens all throughout the league. So it's nothing unique to what happened within the Clippers game. So what happened? That, happened, and then the game ended. And then Stephen A. Smith was on ESPN on a panel with Malika Andrews, Michael Wilbon, and Kendrick Perkins. And they were talking about the playoffs, and they were kind of previewing Game 4. And then Stephen A. Smith, out of nowhere, goes off on a tangent and starts talking about, he was wondering why Russell Westbrook shouldn't have been suspended. Why Russell Westbrook should have been suspended. And he then said, he even then decided, you know what, I'm going to call the league office for them to explain to me why wasn't this guy suspended, because he personally believes that Russell Westbrook was suspended, should have been suspended. And a lot of people in the entertainment space, NBA fans, are like, bro, what are you doing? What exactly are you doing? Were you trying to get him suspended? Were you trying to get this guy to be penalized for the series? What's going on here? So we want to play what Stephen A. Smith had to say on ESPN. I want you guys to listen to it in its entirety. It's not a very long clip. And then we're going to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to what Stephen A. Smith had to say on ESPN here.
What did you see from Russell Westbrook?
Inexcusable behavior. That's what I saw. And I don't know why this isn't being talked about enough, to be quite honest with you. I was of the mindset that Russell Westbrook deserved to be suspended for today's game. That's how appalling his game was. Now, I've been raving about Russell Westbrook since he arrived in Los Angeles. He's been a godsend for the Clippers as far as I'm concerned. He's an energizer bunny. But what he did the last game, I want y'all to go back and reflect on what transpired in Game 3. Look at this foul right here. You knock the guy clear upside the head. You sit up there and you come down on Luka Doncic in the back. That play right there, you could have separated his shoulder. Then you push him in the chest. Then you go after PJ. And then after that, even though PJ shoved you in the back, and then you're shrugging off the referee. I felt so serious about this, fellas. I called the league office. And I said, I need an explanation. Tell me why Russell Westbrook wasn't suspended. And I was told that the officials gave their report. And every indication in writing that they provided said, we handled this. He got a couple of technicals, plus a flagrant one, plus he was ejected, plus no one was injured. So we took all of those things into consideration. That's why we didn't suspend him. And I stood down. I said, that makes total sense. I'm glad. But they said, if it had been the regular season, the likelihood is that they might have had a different decision. But it's the playoffs, and because of how important it is, you can't just do that. But Russell Westbrook, mad love and respect to him most times. I was so disappointed in the way that he played the other day. Kawhi Leonard is hurt. Paul George and him combined for 16 points. They're averaging 29 points per game together. You're needed, and you acting like that? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
I agree with everything that you said.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. And a lot of people took issue with him. Even Gilly the Kid, like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Listen, this is my issue with Stephen A. Smith with this particular story. Stephen, and I heard Two Raw for Sports bring it up too. Stephen A. Smith is over here talking about, oh, why wasn't Russell Westbrook suspended and all this and this and da 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 da. Meanwhile, one of his friends in Draymond Green, who has had a history of having extremely dirty plays against NBA players. Whenever Draymond Green, the last time he did that backhanded slap on Yusuf Nurkic, I never heard Stephen A. Smith go in there talking about why didn't the league make his punishment more severe? Or when Draymond Green was doing all of these crazy stuff to NBA players, I never heard him making such excuses or trying to figure out why he should be penalized even more. In the case of Draymond Green, all Stephen A. Smith was doing was making excuses for him. Talking about, he was dealing with some personal stuff and all that. So you have a situation where Draymond Green was assaulting players on the basketball court, quite literally, assaulting them. And you had Stephen A. Smith making all of these excuses for Draymond Green. But now Russell Westbrook gets into a skirmish in a heated NBA playoff game, and you're sitting up here talking about, I called the NBA to figure out why he didn't get suspended. Why didn't you call the NBA to figure out why Draymond Green's punishment shouldn't have been more severe? Why were you so understanding in the case of Draymond Green, but in the case of Russell Westbrook, you're talking about, I like the brother. And this is the part that kills me. Whenever Stephen A. Smith talking about I like the brother, or he starts off a sentence giving you mad credit and mad props, you just know he about to say something foul to you. You just know. This is a dude history. Whenever he starts off by complimenting you, you know it's going to be followed with some very foul comments. That's just this dude's MO. In my personal view, I never met him, don't care to meet him. Stephen A. Smith is a very grimy dude. As somebody that I'm observing from afar, he looked like a grimy ass dude. And you don't need to go any further than to reference that interview he had on the Joe Budden podcast a few months back. He goes on the Joe Budden podcast. Joe Budden is like, yo, what happened between you and Max Kellerman? Stephen A. Smith then takes it upon himself to, instead of just simply explaining it, he then goes into why Max Kellerman wasn't even qualified to be sitting next to him. He was bringing down the show. He wasn't adding anything. If you check on YouTube, he was. And I'm like, yo, hold on a second. The way you're talking about this guy, it's going to affect his chances of getting hired. And he even said it. He's like, if I'm someone that shuns a particular personality, or if I can't work with them, other people in the business are going to say, well, if Stephen A. Smith can't work with this guy, then maybe we need to avoid him too. That's what he said. And we can have countless situations with the Kwame Browns, with the Kyrie Irvings. It's never been personal, but then you go out and admit it's always been personal. That's y'all man. That's why you have the LeVar Balls and all of this dude. Like, yo, I can see through this dude, man. This dude fake. Stephen A. Smith will be dry snitching on people all the time. He'd be like, yo, I saw this NBA player get snuffed in the club, but I would never tell you the detail. I would never go into what actually happened. That I would never betray his trust like that, but I did see him get knocked out. It's like, what? You've already told the entire story. The reason people are upset with him here is that who sent you? Are you an NBA official? Are you an NBA referee? Are you Joe Dumars to reference what Two Raw Sports had to say? No. So why are you going so hard? Let the NBA handle it. I thought he should have been suspended. So I tried to call and figure out why he wasn't suspended. Like, yo, bro, why? Why? And then at the end, he gonna put out a tweet. Let me see. He put out a tweet on his Twitter last night that I want to read because he was responding to, I believe, a Clutch Points article. And he said on Twitter, I said it, and I damn sure meant it because of his play on Friday. Knowing the league office would have normally suspended anyone for this, I called to ask why this was different. They explained it, and I get it. For those tripping that I call the league, it's my damn job. All of us who cover the league call the league office all the time. Podcasters may not. Some pundits may not. But those of us who reported throughout our careers report and get verification. That is what we do. That's your man. That's your man. One of the biggest issues with Stephen A. Smith is that whenever he's wrong, he doubles down. And that's why people are not feeling him for what he did. That's y'all man. That's y'all man.